The boy starts off saying, "This world I live in is full of all kinds of dungeons. The cave-type dungeon is created, a labyrinth-type dungeon gets added, and there's even a tower of trials. This is a world of grand dungeons and countless treasures lie within them. In this place, the greatest honor someone can achieve is becoming an adventurer and gathering wealth from the dungeons. But not just anyone can become an adventurer. You have to be one of the chosen, and him doesn't really seem like it, right? He's just walking through the brush with a giant backpack on his back. Near the country borders, you see folks trying to cross like that too. There's probably 3 rags stuffed in that sack." Tomato Nose looks at him and says, "Ahead of here is the dungeon. Only those with permission are allowed to enter." But then he notices the boy's little necklace and asks if he's a bag, and yeah, this guy's the sucker of the day. His rank is white porcelain. Name, Nagi. "Oh, what, you getting in to kick a ball or something?" The old guy then says, "Go on and already. But I gotta say, it's kinda embarrassing, you showing up late with nothing but a backpack." Apparently, adventurers these days don't know the meaning of respect. But where are the other porters? Normally, you pay 50 gold coins and a bunch of them show up to carry everything. Nagi pats his chest and says that apparently he's one of the best when it comes to hauling big stuff. His salary alone is 50 gold coins. The guy claps sarcastically and asks if he's lying. Tells him to quit the nonsense because for that kind of money, they should have sent 4 or 5 people. Then the lube-mouth kid replies, "You see those backpacks? You're not only going to carry those, you're also going to have to haul the luxuries from the dungeon. Think you can handle that?" And now that I'm actually looking at him, I thought this guy was a guard, but it looks like he's gonna be part of Nagi's party. Then he says that if the kid can't handle it, you can go ask the association for help right now. Nagi walks up and says, "Damn, you guys have a lot of stuff for a group of just 4. While thinking, he notes that this reaction is pretty common. It's not normal for a porter to earn 50 gold coins a day when most only get 10. In cases like this, instead of making excuses or trying to explain, it's better to just show how it's done. He tosses the big pack to the ground, grabs all the smaller backpacks, and starts stuffing them inside. The guys by the campfire are all just watching, and the moment they realize he's using a magic backpack you already know, they're gonna want to steal it. Everyone's scratching their heads, wondering where the items went, how this magic thing works, how much it costs. Nagi, all crooked from the weight, says, "Sorry, loser. Only I can use this. So back off." The other blonde dude tells them to stay put. As impressive as the backpack is, what difference is it gonna make in a real fight? After all, the kid was only hired to carry items. This guy's name is Jepnam. Yeah, weird name. Gold rank. He throws his arm forward and says that Nagi better be worth every single gold coin. Obviously, he needs to perform as well as 5 people or it's not worth the cost. Nagi wonders if this guy is the leader of the group. He seems like a hardest, but it's fine. After all, he's a professional porter. And before this dungeon run ends, he's gonna make sure everyone walks out happy. This Nagi is a peculiar one, and now he starts explaining why he earns way more than the other porters. It's not just because of his ability to carry a ton of stuff. It's also because he makes adventurers extremely satisfied. Alright then, adventurers go into dungeons to hunt and face all kinds of danger, traps that can be triggered at any time, ambushes from monsters, and coordinated attacks. These guys are taking heavy hits, and this is exactly the kind of situation Nagi has been preparing for. The stress of being in a place like that is intense, and he knows how to handle it. The blonde guy yells, "Didn't your balloon heads get told to keep your guard up, idiots?" One blames the other. Nobody wants to admit they messed up. Watching all this, Nagi says he took advantage of that gap in the market. What is he? A coach. And here he comes, pulling out the giant backpack and calling everyone over, saying he knows they must be starving after non-stop hunting. That's why a top-tier meal just arrived. The 2 clueless guys stare at him, drooling, trying to figure out what that amazing smell is. Yep, the kid really brought a feast. That's his secret skill, dungeon restaurant. Tomato Cheek is biting into the protagonist's meat and says it's delicious, like it was just freshly made. The other one, the veggie guy, agrees too. Dude's emotional. He's never eaten anything this good inside a dungeon. Right away, they ask if Nagi's backpack really keeps everything fresh or if it's some kind of natural ability. What's going on? He says he can't explain too much. The important part is, it's way too early for them to be impressed. And then with a quick motion, bam, he pulls out a whole bathtub for the guys. The bearded guy wonders if he's somehow at a resort all of a sudden. The surroundings weren't exactly paradise, but the feeling, it was amazing. Then, out of nowhere, the blonde guy calls out to them. He asks if, by any chance, they think they're on vacation. Are they seriously not realizing they're still in the middle of a dungeon? What they needed was discipline. Still, he's not gonna lie. This water is heavenly. So he says he has no choice but to enjoy it a bit himself. Then he goes, "Man, I really wanted to believe you were worth those 50 gold coins. I was even thinking about complaining to the association and asking for compensation. But now I realize with everything you've brought to the table, 50 gold coins was a bargain." Nagi nearby says that dungeon crawling is definitely exhausting. People think the hard part is just fighting monsters, but there are tons of other issues that come up. Some hunters end up starving, can't fight properly, and die. And as a porter, he always keeps in mind, he only gets paid if the adventurers make it through the dungeon. That's why he puts in his best effort to make sure they succeed. The bearded guy laughs and says this kid is way too humble. Not even if they hired the top folks from their guild would they be treated like this. He'd never felt anything like it before. That bath filled him with energy, and now he's sure he can take on any enemy. He jumps up, all fired up, and Nagi looks to the side like, this dude's out of control. But just like he said, things inside went smoothly after that. The group was already skilled in combat, so they handled huge swarms of monsters with ease. The real issue, as always, was the boss. That's because these kinds of monsters are obviously full of randomness and unpredictability. The blonde guy says this one's especially sneaky. Looks like that T-Rex from Toy Story, walking all wobbly, while everyone's yelling not to let it get an opening. The beast lifts its claw, slams it down, and one of the guys dives to the side and fires an arrow straight into its hand. The attack triggers a spider web trap, but even so, the creature charges forward and whips its tail, slamming it right into his shield. But the blonde guy swings in from the side, draws his sword, and lands a solid hit with his positive attribute talent, slicing off that tail clean. Obviously, the boss keeps firing off some little magic attacks, but the blonde guy's blocking like a champ, and man, they really are tanking through it. Suddenly, the boss unleashes fire everywhere while Nagi stays hidden. This boss is the Zarkum Lizard, a rank B creature. Based on what he's seen from the party so far, Nagi estimates they've got an 80% chance of winning. But 80% still means there's a 20% chance of failure. And if they lose, Nagi gets nothing. So he's got to make sure it doesn't happen. A little help wouldn't hurt. He rummages through his backpack, finds something, and says that this should do the trick. These guys already have the strength. All he needs to do is create a small opening. It's just a shame they'll have to use this mimic mushroom, which is ridiculously expensive. But as always, the main goal is to finish the job. The boss charges in again, ready to chomp right down on the blonde guy. But Nagi says it doesn't matter how unpredictable its moves are. All he needs is to calculate the perfect moment and throw it. The boss sees the giant mushroom coming. It explodes right on its head in a thick cloud of smoke. While the creature's coughing and reeling, the blonde guy asks what that was. Nagi simply raises a pom-pom and says the perfect chance to attack has arrived. The blonde guy grins. He uses the opportunity to scale the beast's tail, climbs up its back, makes his way to the top of its head, and drives his weapon straight into the skull. Man, that thing weighs like 500 kilos. It just crushes the lizard's dome. Right after, he gets up, compliments everyone's effort, and tells them to gather the loot. And just like that, that day's dungeon was wrapped up without much trouble. But as always, the cheerful mood didn't last long. That's because they were supposed to collect at least 20 rank B stones from that creature. But in the end, they only got 5 stones and a bunch of low-level items. And what made it worse was that most of the monsters that showed up this time were just basic creatures like goblins. If you put everything on a scale, who was there, who took part, what they actually earned, it was clearly a total loss. And now they have to split the loot, which already wasn't much to begin with. In a split second, the cheerful mood from finishing the dungeon just vanished, and now everyone's yelling at each other. Even something as simple as dividing up the rewards became a sensitive subject. But it's fine. That kind of thing happens with adventurers. Nagi's just there to carry items, so he doesn't care about all that. Besides, his salary is fixed. He's not stressing about any of this. So he pulls out 2 bottles and calls everyone over, saying they must be thirsty. The blonde guy asks if he's seriously still looking after the group even now that the job's over. And he admits it. That smoke grenade Nagi threw at the boss was the clutch moment of the fight. Honestly, they got super lucky having run into this kid. I don't know. This blonde guy's acting way too nice. Our boy says he's just giving a hand with the humble skills he's got. But Jepnum cuts in saying no, that's not humble at all. The more he sees, the more impressed he gets. That backpack of his creates some insane stuff, and it doesn't even seem to have a limit. Maybe there's more valuable stuff inside that thing than in the entire dungeon. Just because I said it. Now they're all wondering if there's a pretty decent stash of money hidden in there. I mean, if he gets paid 50 gold coins every time he joins a dungeon run, he's definitely racked up a fortune. They really did hit the jackpot finding this kid. Everyone's looking at him now, with that greedy look in their eyes. Nagi tries to brush it off, saying, "Hey fellas, this conversation's getting kinda weird, how about you drink this instead?" But they smash the bottle in his hand. He dodges the first arrow. The second one's already coming as they start asking themselves what the hell they're doing. He pulls a full-on Matrix move, dodges again, and tells them to just say what's going on. The bearded guy apologizes, says it was a mistake. He just wanted to end it quickly and without pain. They had to understand an adventurer can't risk their life and walk away empty-handed. The guy with the beanie adds, "Hey man, don't blame us. Things are rough for us too, you know. We gotta pay taxes, you get it. Besides, you got way too much stuff in that backpack and someone who's just here to carry gear isn't even gonna use it." Nagi starts getting up, wondering if it's always gonna be like this. People act like it's normal for a porter to die in the middle of a dungeon, because technically they're not supposed to know how to fight. And obviously, if they kill him right now, they'll just say he got taken out by a goblin or something. Whatever. No one's gonna care. The happy expressions those guys had when they were thanking him for all the help, gone. Just like that. Now they're looking at him like he's loot. But he's not shaken. Not surprised either. Because this is familiar. The truth is, this kind of thing happens all the time in this world, a place where everything you can achieve in life is decided the moment you're born. And of course, the treatment someone like him gets, a porter, is among the worst. Nothing changed the day he was born, and nothing's changed since. He remembers clearly the moment he found out that his skill was a backpack. The looks of disgust everyone gave him after seeing it. That hot receptionist from the guild, she straight up told him that with a skill like his, he'd never qualify to be an adventurer. His job was always going to be transport. If he wanted to enter a dungeon, it'd be as someone hauling stuff in a bag. Nagi never even had the chance to become an adventurer. That one stamp on his record locked in his profession, and that was the end of it. That's probably what these guys are thinking right now too. Q-Tip tells him to stop resisting and just die already, then leaps forward, launching his spear and yelling for the idiot to disappear. But oh man, here we go. Nagi starts moving, thinking that this decision to become a porter was never something he actually chose. He reaches toward his own side to pull something out, but stops mid-motion while blocking the spear. Q-Tip's confused and Nagi charges in straight to land a clean punch to the mouth. Bearded Guy's thrown off too and tries to swing in return, but Nagi pulls out a little axe and hurls it spinning, hits him square in the chest. The other two are just standing there, completely stunned. The blonde one has no idea what's happening. Q-Tip had passed out in a split second. Right away, the blonde guy snaps, saying that pathetic scumbag couldn't even beat a kid like that. Two more rush in, but Nagi pulls out some kind of water device and blasts it at them. It's boiling water. He charges in through the steam and delivers a strike. Still, he hasn't killed anyone. He's actually going easy on them, just dishing out punches to the face, the stomach, the chest. The idiots are all face planted against the wall while the blonde guy is still standing there, totally lost. How the hell did this kid take down 3 adventurers just like that? He starts yelling that it's impossible. Nagi's ranked white. How could he pull something like this off? But Nagi's got things in that backpack. Then he glances over his shoulder and says not to worry about it. He's just the group's porter, after all. Naturally, not long after, everyone's tied up outside, beaten to a pulp. Nagi notices a carriage pulling up. He raises his hand and says they're right over here. Something good's stepping out of that carriage. And honestly, he's hoping it's not a dude. He's betting on those thighs. Turns out it's Dungeon Inspector Petra, who says she heard what happened. But why is everyone so bruised and swollen? Everyone got wrecked. She asks what happened and Nagi goes, ask them. They'll explain everything. Actually, he had used his bag earlier to secretly record what they'd said about killing the porter, and now it's playing everything back. Petra finds it fascinating that he had a recording device hidden inside the bag. She says he's definitely a unique kid. He explains that it's not exactly a recorder. It's more like storing sound itself inside the backpack. She says whatever, the point is she gets it. Those guys betrayed him and tried to kill him. What she doesn't understand is how he, a mere porter, managed to defeat 4 adventurers. On top of that, they look like they've been poisoned with ashwood mushrooms. Nagi says he's impressed she knows about those. She responds, of course she knows. Those mushrooms make your muscles lock up, make you dizzy, and turn your face purple. Nagi says it's easy to explain. Coincidentally, they ended up eating a soup that had those mushrooms in it. And right when they tried to attack him, the symptoms kicked in. He just got lucky. Otherwise, how could someone like him have possibly won? He steps over to the blonde guy and asks if that's not the truth. The blonde guy's trembling all over. But obviously, that's a total lie. We saw him beat them down. Sure ate the mushrooms, but it wasn't on purpose. Long before they even started fighting seriously, they were already caught in this kid's trap. Then Nagi asks if they're really supposed to be gold-ranked adventurers. And bam, clash of swords with the blonde guy. They start going at it. Slash here. Counter there, Nagi ducks low. The blonde one noticed something was off. Even if they burned all their energy on the boss fight, it still didn't make sense that they were getting completely wrecked by this backpack kid. But Nagi just laughs, wondering how the guy even managed to kill a goblin being that slow. The blonde guy's sure he's losing because he's being humiliated, and that mockery is throwing him off completely. There's no way he was gonna lose to this backpack kid. Not a chance, he just had to calm down and finish him off now. But after one more swing, he misses again, muttering that maybe next time he'll land a hit. Another mistake. And now he's saying, maybe next time. He powers up his sword with a golden aura and fires off a blast. But Nagi just hops up and laughs midair, saying he's getting better. That just pisses the guy off even more. He tries another upward slash, but now Nagi's already beneath him. That's when he starts to get it. He didn't lose to this kid because Nagi was stronger. He lost because he himself had gotten weaker. The blonde guy starts wondering what's happening to his body. He's overwhelmed by this strange, sick feeling like he's about to throw up. Nagi casually asks if he didn't give them a heads up already. Forgot to mention, they were all poisoned. That tasty meat they loved so much during the meal. Yeah, it already had the toxic mushrooms mixed in. Not only do those mushrooms make food taste amazing, but they're also great for dealing with people who like to cheat their way out of paying. Blondie hears that and groans, calling him a damn bastard. Says he was betrayed before he even did anything. Nagi nods and says, yep, that's exactly right. I mean, how's a delicate porter like him supposed to trust shady adventurers like them? Once they'd eaten the mushrooms, all they needed was to smell a catalyst for the effects to kick in. Nagi's plan was if everything went smoothly, he'd hand over the antidote and no one would even get sick. But no, these geniuses decided to make the worst possible move and shatter his bottle. Now he's holding the last bottle and wondering out loud what he's supposed to do with it. The blonde guy knows it. No matter how it went down, even if they claim they were poisoned and betrayed, the story would make sense to anyone. And crying, he just says he's telling the truth. They went into that place, ate something wrong, and that's why they're like this. No way in hell he's going to admit he got beat down by the backpack kid. That would be an even bigger humiliation than just looking like a fool. Petra's there, staring at the four of them crying, completely confused. Then she calls over a guard and tells him to take these criminals away. Meanwhile, Nagi goes, "Farewell, my friends. I'm heading out. My work here is done." But Petra calls out for him to wait. She asks if he'd like a ride back to the city. He glances over his shoulder and asks, "Is it free?" Cut to them already in the carriage. She says it's a shame. He went through such a mess right after arriving in the city. On behalf of the entire Hunters Association, she wants to apologize. He tells her not to worry. Adventurers and porters like him are used to stuff like this. She says she gets it, but there are still things she should be more careful about. She knows he wasn't the one at fault this time, but not everyone's going to see it that way, especially since the adventurers he took down were from the Dawn Guild. They're notorious for being arrogant and ignoring the rules. And even if Nagi wasn't in the wrong here, those guys are definitely going to want payback. So all she asks is that he be more cautious from now on. But mid-conversation, she starts looking confused because all of a sudden, something's eating Nagi from inside his own backpack. He calmly says he hears it and asks the creature to stop. Whatever it is, spits him back out. Our boy sighs and tells Gluttony to quit popping out in front of people and get back in the bag. The creature whines that it's starving and Petra's like, "What the hell is that thing?" Nagi tells her not to worry. That's Gluttony, a creature that's been living inside the backpack. Who knows how long? He's the one who organizes everything in there. Before Gluttony showed up, things were a mess. Swords tangled together, ropes all knotted up. In exchange for keeping it all tidy, the little monster eats the stones Nagi earns. And considering how crazy today's been, that thing's probably got a whole lot of organizing to do. At the same time, on the other hand, Gluttony had a lot to eat, since everything from that dungeon, which was supposed to be split among 4 adventurers, ended up going straight into Nagi's backpack. Nagi tells Gluttony to go ahead and eat twice the usual amount of mana stones if he wants. All cute and happy, the little creature grabs one and starts munching. Petra finds it odd. She's never heard of a magical being that eats mana stones. Nagi says it's the first time he's seen one too, but there's no need to worry. It's just a little guy who likes fair trade. She says, "You're kind of fascinating, or rather, a backpack of yours is definitely something else. I've never seen anything like it." But before she can finish her sentence, the horse suddenly bucks and the carriage starts shaking. She asks what's wrong, and the soldier says he has no idea. The beast just won't calm down. Out of nowhere, Nagi feels something weird. His expression shifts, serious. A strange sensation, one he had no doubt about. A dungeon break. But why was it happening here, of all places? He immediately calls out to the inspector and points in a direction, saying there's a dungeon over there that's about to break. She looks shaken. It's a massive problem. But how the hell did he know that? Did he have some kind of detection tool hidden away too? He replies that it's just instinct. She doesn't buy it. But he tells her they don't have time for her to believe or not believe. They need to move, warn the others before things spiral and casualties pile up. Even so, Petra is still turning it over in her head, sensing a dungeon break by instinct alone. That was absurd. Even she, a highly respected inspector, couldn't do that. Gluttony lets out a little burp and casually confirms it's a dungeon break. Says he loves eating magic stones and can smell one coming from miles away. More importantly, he's picking up an extremely strong scent coming from beyond that mountain. So yeah, he's absolutely sure. I thought they were gonna run away, but nope, they're heading over to check it out. A dungeon break is something that happens when a dungeon remains open for too long. When no one clears it, it eventually goes through a catastrophic shift, basically your classic solo leveling copy. Petra confirms it really is a dungeon break. And worse, it's already past the critical point. Any minute now, monsters are going to start pouring out. But again, how the hell did Nagi feel that from so far away? He answers that it's a feeling he'll never forget. Not only can he forget it, he doesn't want to forget it. He remembers exactly how terrifying it is when something like that happens. You've got pterodactyls flying around, 6-armed demon things crawling out. What even is he? Some kind of guy from the future? Or from the underworld? Petra is still trying to piece it together. When did this kid ever go through something like that? And she keeps wondering how she didn't sense anything herself. Nagi says something's not right here. If this dungeon is so close to the city, why didn't any adventurers show up to subjugate it? Petra checks the registry and says that this dungeon had already been assigned to someone a long time ago. Naturally, Nagi wants to know who accepted it and never came. She replies that this place was marked as a rank D dungeon, and it was accepted by mithril-ranked adventurers, so it should have been taken care of by now. The moment Nagi hears that, suspicion starts building. He says he's going to need to find out what's going on in the city and asks what she's planning to do. Petra tells the guard to take the little criminals to jail and says she'll help the kid. So they head for the city. Not long after, They arrive and come face to face with a huge crowd yelling in the streets. Clearly, something weird was going on. The townspeople are shouting that the dungeon's been there for ages and no one's done a thing about it. If a dungeon break happens, why is everyone dragging their feet? One guy is sitting around totally unbothered. Then there's Miro, a martial artist, who says they should be talking to the guild leader, not to them. The other guy sitting there, Vendeshtar, coldly says to pass the message along. This isn't their responsibility. The townspeople are furious, calling them bastards. And nearby, Nagi's now absolutely sure his suspicions were right. The name for this kind of thing is Dungeon No-Show. Though honestly, not everything needs a name, author. Basically, someone buys the rights to a dungeon and then never shows up. It happens when a high-ranked adventurer has nothing better to do and takes a weak dungeon. But then a better one appears, and they abandon the first. Petra says that, yeah, that does happen sometimes. But in those cases, the association issues a fine. Nagi, however, points out that for a mithril-ranked adventurer swimming in cash, a fine is just pocket change. And even if that guy gets off scot-free, the people in this town lose everything. That dungeon's probably going to break tonight. And even if they call every squatter from the association, barely any will make it in time. And the worst part, watching those other two adventurers standing there making lame excuses. That guy Deshtar is going on about how they're victims too. If their leader doesn't show up, how are they supposed to handle anything? People should stop blaming them and take it up with the association. Watching this unfold, Nagi can't help but think, adventurers are supposed to be heroes. But in the end, they're just selfish people chasing profit. The real problem is, in situations like this, their power is what's needed. Only they have the strength to stop something like this. Nagi can't fix it just being a simple porter. Wait, so is he weak or strong now? I'm confused. Did he really only win because of the mushrooms? What's going on? Petra says the best thing they can do is evacuate the village. Saving lives has to come first. But Nagi grabs his necklace and asks if she really thinks they'll be able to save anyone. She tells him to explain, and he does. Winter is coming. And with it, here comes Jon Snow and the Iron Throne. Once everyone loses their homes, how are they supposed to survive? He throws the necklace aside and says it's hopeless. What this village needs right now isn't a porter. Wait, did his badge just change? He shouts out for them to take a good look at what's happening here. A dungeon break unfolding right in the village he happened to visit. Then he turns to Petra and asks, is it true that whoever stops a dungeon break gets to keep all the rewards tax-free? She confirms it, and he replies that this is the perfect chance to make some serious money. The two adventurers are looking around, confused, wondering who this nutcase is, and if he's actually planning to challenge the dungeon. But then their expressions change the moment they see he's wearing a gold rank adventurer badge. Right, they're thinking he probably stole it from that chump earlier. Nagi then asks if they want in. If so, the split is 9 for him and 1 for the losers. Just like that, it's finally time. Time for him to be an adventurer. Also, just now realizing, these chapter lengths are insane, guys. I'm still on chapter 2. What is this? Anyway, the story takes a second to explain what rift dungeons are. They serve as gateways connecting Earth to unknown worlds. To enter one of these, it's recommended to be at least gold rank. The difficulty isn't just about the monsters. Obviously, you'll have to fight strong ones. That's expected. But one of the major problems is that it's nearly impossible to gauge how dangerous these dungeons are from the outside. The wind conditions can be totally unpredictable. That's why most adventurers avoid these like the plague, way too risky. But the 4 of them, they're going in for a speedrun. Petra says she checked the magic field, and it looks like the dungeon will break in about an hour. Nagi already knows. That's how long he has to clear everything. All they can hope is that it's an easy dungeon. No more talking, they can't afford to waste a single second. It's time to go in. A golden flash of light bursts out, and when they open their eyes, they're in a completely different world. Chunks of floating rock everywhere. Miro is all hyped up, saying it was nighttime just a second ago, and now they're in some new place where it's bright as day. And oh my god, that Vendeshtar dude is they're saying today's finally the day he conquers his very first dungeon. This guy's insane, throwing himself into this as his first real experience. No way. He's claiming he's about to unleash such incredible power that everyone's gonna be left speechless. Petra just mutters that they're screwed, and Nagi agrees. Guys, this looks like that Steam game. Go up. They're gonna have to keep climbing all the way up to that little castle at the top. And the worst part, they only got 1 hour to finish it. Petra wants to know why he lied about being a gold rank adventurer. Nagi replies that they don't really have time to explain, they just need to get this started now. If he'd shown up offering help as just a porter, those two would never have agreed to join in. But now, with the gold badge, he's not only got them following him, he's got them listening to him. Petra agrees. In the end, what matters most is saving the citizens. Meanwhile, Nero just giggles and tells them to stop worrying. Humans are slow and useless anyway, but she'll reach the top alone and fast. She's already hopping from rock to rock like she's on a trampoline. Destro is standing there, confused and impressed, but he notes something feels kinda dangerous. Suddenly, a glowing bracelet appears around her wrist, and she gets yanked back to the ground. The guy tells her to use her brain. She needs to think before charging ahead like an idiot. The tall girl tells him to stop picking fights, while the rest of them are already bickering again. Petra steps in and tells everyone to calm down. In a dungeon like this, it's normal to check for curses first. She activates her magic, and they all see chains connecting the four of them. Is this not literally a Steam gain, or am I losing it? Anyway, the important part, all four of them have to make it to the top. No one can go sprinting off alone. Nagi comments that flashy tricks won't work in this place, but it's fine, because if there's one thing he's got, it's climbing gear. One of them looks confused, wondering why he's so prepared for this kind of thing. He just says they should get started already, they'd only have an hour. One step at a time is the key to clearing this kind of dungeon. You can't waste all your energy trying to reach the top too fast. But at the same time, if you're too slow, you'll run out of time. He keeps leaping from one floating rock to the next, telling everyone to stay in rhythm with him. They all have to keep the chain connection in mind and maintain the minimum required distance. Niromiro says he's way too slow and that she's going ahead on her own. But he explains if you just dash forward, take a dumb path, and end up having to double back, you're gonna lose time. They need to move slowly and stick to the correct route, because this is a one-way trip. The idea is simple. Follow the most precise path. The problem is that this type of dungeon is full of variables. Right in front of him is some flying creature that looks like a hippo eating a boulder. The thing chomps through the very route he had calculated. Nagi never imagined something like this would even exist. Petra explains that it's a flying stone-eating pig. The good news, it's not aggressive. Just don't provoke it and it'll leave you alone. The bad news, it's eating the floating rocks, which happen to be the only path they can use. Still, she's impressed, saying the ecosystem in this place is incredible. The creature eats rock, poots rock, and ends up creating new paths. But for Nagi, this is a disaster. The route he planned out is now gone. He says he's got an idea. He wants to throw something to trap the creature. The problem is, if he misses, he might accidentally provoke it and turn it into an aggressive monster. Deshtar tells him to chill. If the creature charges at them, he'll handle it. He says it's finally his time to shine. He stretches out his arm and tells everyone to watch closely. He's about to show them what he can do. That's how Van Deshtar overcame any challenge. He used a necromancy talent called Finger Summon, and a bunch of clay golems started appearing all around him. Nagi actually compliments him, saying it might just work. But then he notices the golems are already cracking apart, and asks why they're falling apart so fast. Niromiro chimes in, Deshtar's kind of famous back in the beginner zones. Nobody trusts anything he summons. Most of the time, they either don't work or explode. Not to mention, the guy always ends up passing out and drooling like a fool. But the guy insists. He says he can maintain these incredible creations for 5 minutes, and that should be enough. Nagi's thinking this is probably not a good idea, but he doesn't have time to plan something else. So that's it. They're going for it before everything blows up. He throws the harpoon, and one of Deshtar's creatures jumps to grab it. But instead, it smacks the flying pig right in the face. Apparently, there's a sensory connection between the summoner and the summoned, because Deshtar flinches and groans in pain. Now that they're crossing the rope, Nagi thinks to himself that while this place is tough and weird, they actually got lucky. His companion's skills are useful, and the fact that he's got all kinds of gear in his backpack, as always, makes things a lot easier. That is until Deshtar suddenly tells everyone to hurry. The golems are falling apart. He's not sure why, but everything feels like it's about to explode. He's losing control, and being suspended mid-air by a rope is not helping. Sure enough, the golems start blowing up. One of the blasts lands directly on the pig monster, which lets out a roar of pain. The rope they were relying on, yeah, it snaps. Everyone's falling, and they all know they're screwed. There's no way they're getting out of this alive. Nagi shouts at them to grab onto whatever they can, thinking even if they survive the fall, there won't be enough time to reach the top anymore. At the very least, he needs to soften the landing. And of course, to fix it, he whips something out of the backpack. Turns out it's actually a pretty simple solution. They land on a big stone, using the backpack not just as padding, but as a trampoline to bounce back up. He uses a grappling hook, and everyone manages to grab onto a higher rock. Petra thanks him, saying they're all safe thanks to him. But now they've lost a lot of progress. Can they really make it to the top in time? Nagi says there's no other choice. From this point on, they can't rely on their abilities anymore. Everyone needs to get ready. They're going straight up vertical style. He hands out frog-style climbing gear to everyone, while repeating the same thing over and over. If one person falls, they all fail, so they better stay sharp. They dodge falling rocks, pass through a freezing region, run from a monkey's banana, and even bump into a Pokemon. They're totally exhausted now, asking how much farther they have to go. Nagi says they're almost there, but they snap back, saying he's already said that 10 times. Nero complains, I became an adventurer to fight monsters, not climb a mountain. Nagi tells her to shut it and just look up. The castle is right there. The bad news, there's clearly a boss guarding it too. But the two were actually excited, finally happy they got something to kill. If they take that thing down, maybe Nero will finally get promoted out of bronze rank. Nagi says now it all makes sense. Based on their physical abilities and talents, there's no way these two should still be bronze. Destra's probably still stuck there because nobody likes necromancers, and Nero is from a race that was enslaved until recently. They're all pumped now, fully confident that their gold-ranked teammate is gonna take care of it. But Petra speaks up, telling everyone to calm down. She says there's something strange going on. That boss up there? It looks like the Serpenter dragon, but normally those creatures aren't purple. The only time their scales ever turn that color is when they're already dead. Nagi looks surprised. We see a sword stuck in the ground and a guy stretching like he just woke up from a nap. He had already killed the dragon, and now he's looking around asking what all the fuss is about. Then he glances back and spots Nagi approaching. At that exact moment, Nagi feels a murderous intent. Before anyone can react, the guy rockets toward the group. In a split second, he's standing face to face with Nagi. That's when Nagi notices the emblem on his chest, mythical rank. It hits him immediately. This was even worse than someone just accepting a dungeon and not showing up. The newcomer says this is a big problem. He figured no one would come in here and casually informs them that this dungeon is supposed to break. Nagi remembers there are people in this world who deliberately make things worse on purpose. The guy clenches his fists and says it's a shame, but the four of them died trying to clear a dungeon heroically.